in the seats of honor near the head of the table, he gave them this advice. When you are invited to a wedding feast, don't sit in the seat of honor. What if someone who is more distinguished than you has also been invited? The host will come and say, "Give this person your seat." Then you will be embarrassed and you will have to take whatever seat is left at the foot of the table. Instead, take the lowest place at the foot of the table. Then, when your host sees you, he will come and say, "Friend, we have a better place for you." Then you will be honored in front of all the other guests. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. How's Eugene put that in the message? It's more colorful. It's about, I think he says, those, if you have your nose in the air, you'll fall on your face. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. If you walk around with your nose in the air, you might fall on your face.
That's it. Then Jesus turned to his host. When you put on a luncheon or a banquet, he said, don't invite your friends and brothers, and relatives, and rich neighbors, for they will invite you back, and that will be your only reward. Instead, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. Then, at the resurrection of the righteous, God will reward you for inviting those who could not repay you. So do you ever find yourself wanting to let other people know of your importance or your accomplishments? Or
Or your title? What about your title?
Titles, yeah.
You know, you've known people who couldn't be called Joe, they want to be called Dr.
Dr. Joe.
Henry.
Doctor. Or titles and degrees. You got a trophy case? You know those things collect dust. They're just, you can't take it.
They're mostly plastic.
And you can't take them with you. You know. Name dropping. Don't you love that one? I know.
When I was speaking with the bishop,
Ooh. All it does is create a need to compete and compare. Leads to ranking and labeling. I think it's the first and deadliest sin. Pride. You can eat from that tree because then you'll be like God. Which one of you like God? God doesn't want you to be equal, so he told you not to eat from that tree. But then the pride came in. There's a question for you to consider. You're into titles and degrees and stuff. Why isn't child of God enough honor for anyone? Why isn't child of God enough of an honor for anyone?
as James speaks to the crowds, listen, dear friends, isn't it clear by now that God operates quite differently than the world? He chose the world's down and out as the kingdom's first citizens, with full rights and privileges. The kingdom is promised to anyone who loves God. And here you are abusing those same citizens. Jesus came as a nobody, right? Born to a
Unwed teenage mother from
the wrong side of the tracks. Jesus came as a nobody. And Jesus was not in the in crowd, wasn't a religious authority, wasn't a rule follower, wasn't a list keeper. There's always an in crowd. Even within the in crowd is the in crowd. On the basketball team, perhaps the basketball team is the in crowd, but within the basketball team,
Starters.
Within the soccer team, starters. Within a group of clergy, the most important,
Elders.
the most educated, the youngest. And within the young crowd, who is the most popular because of whatever. There's always an in crowd. Jesus says, you are as important as everyone else. After you've worked your way to the top, Jesus flips the pyramid over and says,
I'm in the in crowd. I go where the in crowd goes. I'm in the in crowd. And I know what the in crowd knows.
You do well.
So there.
You do well when you complete the royal rule of the Scriptures. Love others as you love yourself. But if you play up to those so-called important people, you go against the rule and you stand convicted by it. You can't pick and choose in these things, specializing in keeping one or two of God's laws and ignoring the others. You can't just pick one or two laws. You have to obey them all. It says you'll be judged by the royal rule of how you've loved one another. All others, the nobodies, the least important people that you walk by and ignore. That's how you will be judged. It's in Matthew.
Yes, it is. In Matthew 25. We'll just read a few verses of this. It goes on back and forth. Then the king, that would be Jesus, will say, and then is at the final judgment, will say to those on his right hand, come, you who are blessed by my Father, that would be God, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. From the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me.
So who are these nobodies that we're supposed to treat just like we treat the somebodies according to the world? Who do you see Christ in when you look at the people who serve you, who wait on you, who are these nobodies?
Well, we could actually pay attention when they come to our tables at a restaurant and give us their name.
Oh,
Okay.
like, hi, I'm Jackie, I'll be your server.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi,
I'm Stan.
are you having a good day?
I am. What about your
morning the toilets were plugged up and 2 people called in sick and I have to do double shift, but you know, I'm really glad you're here. How can I serve you?
You already have.
I think too often, you know, we don't even remember what the server said to us. Hi, my name's thank you. What do I want to eat? Right? How about the people who clean your hotel room?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even see them.
Almost seldom.
Seldom. Maybe when you're leaving, you
When
see
you're
them in the
checking
hall.
out, you see them in the hall. You know, and they always say hi.
Good
And they
morning.
actually ask you how you are, and they probably would like to know. Do you tip them?
I didn't even know I was supposed to tip them.
I didn't either.
It never occurred to me to tip housekeeping until we were leaving annual conference one year, and Stan said to me, did you have change for housekeeping? I looked at him like he was crazy. What do you mean?
Housekeepers. You know, in Wenatchee, they're almost all Hispanic. In Seattle, they're Indian. A lot of places they're Asian. They work for, well, it's less than minimum wage, I can tell you that. Just like those servers. They're the nobodies. So how do we treat, and do we respect them? That's who Jesus said will be judged by how we treat those people who we think of as nobodies.
So how much do you tip them?
I've been
There's a
told-
rule.
I know there's a rule. There's always a rule. $1 per person per day. Unless you're on a cruise ship, in which case it's like $20 per person.
So how about the grocery store clerks? You know, they always engage you. And it's pretty rote. They have a script. But have you noticed that when you say, and how's your day?
You mean look at it?
Like I'm really going to have a conversation here. It's not just about how quickly I can get out of the grocery store, which I dearly hate. And the greeter at Walmart.
Walmart greeter. There you go. Think of the opportunities the Walmart greeter has to change people's days.
So the key question is, do you treat these people as Christ would treat them? Do we treat each other as Christ would treat others? No ranking, no competition. The well-dressed person that walks in is treated the same as the person who appears to have nothing and need everything. How do you treat the nobodies? The way we treat the help, those who serve us, says more about us than it does about the help.
Amen. Would you please stand as you're able, as we ask God to gather all of us in.